Hello everyone, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. Today I have a tutorial on book page envelopes. So you can use book pages, music pages, even scrapbooking paper, and I will show you all these examples real quick. These are the envelopes that I had in our giveaway journal. The last video we did was about the giveaway for this journal right here. And if you would like to win this journal, the contest, is that the right word? The giveaway is still happening right now and good until May 14th of 2019. So please enter to win that if you would like to win this journal. I took these out of there just for a minute so I could show you them, and people expressed interest in wanting to learn how to make these, and so I will be making these book page envelopes, something similar. This was also in the giveaway journal, and this one is made out of music paper, and it's a little bit bigger, as you can see. And just a little bit of different technique for the flap. I put this band for these flaps. They're just clipped onto the book. And plus they stay pretty well, actually. Once they get creased pretty well, they stay. All right, so those were the samples from the giveaway journal. And here are some examples that I made recently. This is clipped with a really cute bird paper clip. There's a little bit of paper trim right here. And this is a napkin that's been decoupaged onto the book page. So that is a little bit different look. There's that one. This one has just some collaging on the flap and some collaging and another real cute paper clip, music notes. And that's plain on the back as well. These are a little bit bigger, and really the only reason why is because I kept the margins in here. For the smaller ones, I cut off the margins, so it makes it a smaller envelope because the page you started with is smaller. And so that's that one. This I made with scrapbooking paper, just paper you would get in a paper pad. You'd have to make sure it's not too thick. Just regular weight paper instead of cardstock. Cardstock is just too thick. I have made envelopes out of cardstock, and it's okay in certain circumstances, but I think this will lay a lot better, and you'll be able to get it creased better with just regular paper. So since the paper was so beautiful in and of itself, I left this part plain, but I just decided to do a little collaging on the flap, and then on the other side I did another little collage. So just some different things you can do. You can use really any type of paper, and for example, I used a 12 by 12 paper pad. I cut it in half so it's 6 inches wide, and then I'll explain the steps later, but so this is 6 inches wide, so you could get 2 envelopes. Well, you could actually get 1 envelope because it's back to back, or if you do 2 patterns like this, then you could get 2 envelopes. So anyway, I'll explain that in a second. So that is it. Let's do the book page first. So the first thing to do is find some book pages. It can be any size. So I'm not even measuring anything. I'm eyeballing everything. So this is exactly what you would do. This is just some experimenting I did, so kind of ignore that. So all you do is just take out your paper. You don't have to trim that rough edge. I think it looks really nice without trimming. More of the junk journal style. You'll take out 2 pages for the envelope body. And then what I usually do, so it's doubled so that you've got more heft to it. sometimes the pages are just not strong enough to be an envelope all by themselves. So what I do is, just to keep the two papers, just to meld them together into one unit, I just use a little glue stick, and, you know, pick your side before you use the glue stick. All right, and then just glue those together. Okay, and then you'll do that again, rip out 2 more pages and glue them together. So this is what I've got. It takes 4 book pages glued together into 2 units. All right, so let me put this book away. It's going to get in the way. All right, so the next thing to do, so now you've got one of your sheets is for the front, or for the pocket part. So I would consider this the pocket part right here. So you've got one sheet for that, and then one sheet for the body and the flap of the envelope. Okay, so what you need to do is cut one of your units down, whichever one you want to be the pocket, and cut it down into the size of a pocket. So I'm just eyeballing, and I had that sample, so I kind of liked that size, so I'm going to cut it right there. I'm going to give myself a little mark so that when I take it to my my cutting machine, just gonna put this in my slicer here and give it a nice straight cut. Okay, now you have your pocket, and you have this left over. You could make another pocket, so you could make two of these envelopes at the same time. That would be handy. All right, so now we've got this the right size, and then you'll fold down your page, fold down the page to where the pocket comes. So the pocket comes right up to here, and if you notice, I don't know if you can see it, but I left thinking maybe 1/8 of an inch in between, because if you fold it like directly onto this edge, then every time you fold that flap down, it's gonna hook on the edge, and it'll like sort of destroy this top part here. So we don't want that. So leave about 1/8 of an inch, and then crease it over. And the reason why we're doing this is we're going to determine how big to make our flap. So as you can see from these, so this one comes down about 2/3 of the way. And this one, I like having a large flap, and this didn't have any decoration on this side. So I went ahead and made a longer flap like this. So however long you make the flap is up to you. It's totally up to you. All right, so what I'm going to do is just kind of determine my size just by eyeballing it. And I'm going to give it a fold so that I know. And then we're just going to cut that off. We're going to cut that off because it's too long for our flap. Bring this back up here and line it up with one of my straight lines and just cut. Okay, so now we have another little piece that you can save for collaging or throw it away. Because after a while you can save so many things, right? All right, now the next part, you can leave it like this if you'd like to, or you can angle it like these are. All of mine are angled, so they're angled like that. And all I do for that is just eyeball it. So you're going to just cut a nice angle from the fold right here up to the edge. Then what I usually do You can eyeball it again and just do that, but what I usually do is take the piece I cut off and hold it up to the flap and cut the same angle. Otherwise, I have a tendency to be off, and I'd prefer not to be. Okay, so now you've got the envelope body and the flap, and you've got the pocket that goes in the front. All right, so this is a little bit hard to get into. I always like to put a thumb hold, let's see, a thumb, yeah, I don't know, a thumb depression in there, like this. So I'll put my thumb depression in there, and the way we do that is, you can just cut it. I've done that so many times because it's only been recently that I actually got a circle punch. So here's a 2-inch circle punch, which seems to be a pretty good size. I hold it up and I just eyeball the center. You could measure if you'd like, and then give it a punch. Just go halfway or part way, a third of the way, and give it a little punch like that. Okay, now the next thing to do is to decorate it if you're going to sew. Now, if you're just going to glue, it's no big deal. This is just glued on here. This is decoupage. That's a whole different ball game there. And then these are actually sewn on. So if you're going to sew something on, you don't have to, but if you're going to, now would be the time to do it. And the other thing I do first is stitch this. All my envelopes have stitching all the way around and on the thumb hold here. And so that is the next step, is to sew here and decorate if you're sewing. So I am going to try, because there's kind of a trick to doing this circular shape here. So there is a trick to that. What I'm going to do now is take you over to my sewing machine. If I can get the right angle, I would really like to do that. So hang on and we'll do a different camera setup. All right, here we are at the sewing machine. So I've got a medium brown thread, which is what I prefer to use. The stitch is on a small setting. We don't want it too far apart because it's harder to make curves when the stitches are pretty far apart. So I leave mine on its default, which is pretty tight stitching. All right, you should not have to back tack here, because when we stitch around, we're going to be covering that line, and so it does not need to be back tacked. But sometimes I do, just as a matter of habit. Like as you can see, my finger's already on the reverse button. Well, maybe you can't see it because we're zoomed in pretty close. Anyway, just start stitching. I'm going to try very hard. I hope this angle is okay for you guys. Just go slowly. No need to rush. Go slowly. About 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or maybe a little bit more than that. All right. My sewing machine has a needle up, needle down feature, but you don't need that. But what I usually do here at the corner where I'm ready to pivot, I put my needle down like that. Then you'll lift up your presser foot and pivot it to where you want it. And then as a way of reference, I usually line up the edge of my paper, because now you can't see your guidelines on your throat plate here, on your plate. So you can't see the guidelines anymore because of this curve here. So I usually just eyeball it right here at the corner, or at the edge of this opening in my presser foot. So my foot. So that's kind of the guide I use, and I just go slowly. And when it comes to the part where you're going to need to turn, I lift up my presser foot here and move the paper slightly, do a few stitches. Okay, I feel the need to turn again, so I'm going to move my paper, do a few more stitches, go slowly. I'm going to need to turn my paper. This will give you a nice even line. Otherwise, sometimes we go fast and it gets all wonky and you've got little zigzags in your curve, which, you know, it's fine, but if you, this is just a little tip, some little tricks. So you can see I repositioned my paper about 6 times there, and then I got done with my curve, so then I lifted up my presser foot and I turned the paper to go straight again. So now I can use these guidelines on my plate. So just keep going. And once again, you don't need to back stitch at all because this will be covered up by another line of stitching. And I have this handy little cutter on mine, so I just cut it. So there you go. There's a nice curvy line. All right, now I am going to switch the camera angle again, and we'll see you in a minute. All right, so we are back. Here is the pocket that we just sewed. Here's the base piece, and they go together like this. But before we put them together, I decided to maybe do a little collaging, and here are just some scraps that I found, and here's a little botanical. So I think I'm going to use that as the base, and then put this on top and maybe tuck some lace. So let's just do that really quickly. I prefer to tear my edges on these. You could definitely leave straight edges. It gives it a little bit of a neater look. So you could definitely do that. That's not a problem at all. And I'm trying to determine if that's too tall. I might just chop it off just a tiny bit right here. Because we want most of it to be seen when the envelope is closed. That's good. Okay, so I think that's good. It's just a very simple little leaf shape. And then this piece, I'm going to hold this up and sort of just tear around it. I don't want to glue it on. Like, it would be handy to glue it on right now, but I don't want to do that just in case I make a mistake on my ripping here. That could happen. It could happen and has happened. All right. All right, so we just gave it a nice little tear. Up to you if you're going to keep this. I usually do, to be honest. All right, that's going in my basket. All right, and then I'll check on that in a second. Oh, did I put my ink away? I did. I put my ink away. That was silly. So what I'm going to do is ink the edges on both of these, if I can find it. Found it. I keep my inks that I use the most in here. It's a little basket I got from here. Here are my used pads here, and I usually just keep. These are the new ones, and then I usually just keep my inks that I use the most, and then I just put that like that. So I've really like that. But anyway, I need my ink back. So ink up the edges. You guys might have to put up with me here, but it's just a few tiny pieces. Sometimes the sound of that inking, like if somebody's doing a lot of inking on their videos, I know that can get annoying. All right, and then now I'm going to hold it up again and see what I want to do with this lace. Or maybe I'll put the lace up here. I think I'll do that. I'll put the lace up there. And maybe I'll just keep this, or put, let me think here. Maybe I'll put a little bit of cheesecloth under there. If I have any on my desk. No, I don't. So I'm going to cut a piece. Cut a piece off. Cut a piece off, and I think I guess brown would be good. I was gonna use this green. It's really pretty, but I might do brown just so it stands out a little bit more. All right, so this isn't glued down yet, and what I'm gonna do, with this white cheesecloth is, I'm going to take a scrap paper here, and I'm just going to ink it up too, to make it a little aged looking, so it's not stark white. So just ink it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect or evenly layered. And then I don't think I need this big piece. Depends on if I'm going to put some in on both sides. But there, yeah, I like that. And then I'm going to put another little piece over here, sort of coming this way and that way for a little bit of visual interest. All right, so now I'm going to take my Fabri-Tac. I keep wanting to move closer to me. So Fabri-Tac here and up here, just to get this to stay. Tack that on like that. And that goes about right there. Yep. And then just put this in the center, because what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to sew this onto my pocket. All right, so there we have a little, and then another just dab in the middle, in the center, because we don't want our sewing machine to run over that. Okay, and through the magic of television, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to sew this on. All right, so here's the pocket with two, I just went around it twice with a little bit of wonky sewing, just means wavy. So it's just wavy 2 times. And so now it is ready for sewing together after we ink it. So it's not too important to ink these outside edges, because we can do that later after it's sewn, but this one is important because once we attach this, it's going to be really hard to I got a little heavy-handed there on my ink. The reason why is because this is a new ink pad, and I'm used to like forcing the ink out of the pad and onto the paper, but no, this is a new ink pad, and it has lots of ink, as you can see, but that's okay. It's okay. It's not a problem. So we're going to ink that up like that. Now, I think I'll change the camera angle and have you come with me to sew this together. Oh, before I do, though, I think I'm going to add this lace on. And usually when I have a little fabric piece here, I will tack it down with the Fabri-Tac, or any type glue that you are comfortable using. So I'll just tack it down like that, and then it will be sewn in our line that goes around, and so it is secured that way as well. So I'm just going to trim off the ends, those little parts that are sticking out. Okay. Maybe a dab right here to keep it down while I'm sewing. Can get it there. Another dab on the other side as well, just so it stays down while we're sewing. All right, and now I will change the camera angle and have you come along with me to sew up our envelope. All right, we're back at the sewing machine. I usually clip these, paper clip the pocket to the base just to keep it in place. You could use a little glue stick or something like that, but we are sewing on the edge, so I don't think it would be the perfect thing for your sewing machine. So I usually just paper clip it to keep it straight, line it all up. And now these are just straight edges, right? So you can use the guidelines on your sewing machine. And I do back tack here, just slightly. Pull the paper clip off as you come to it. All right, and just stitch. And when you turn the corner, just put your needle down and turn. And if you are running over the top of your collage, it's no big deal. Okay, so now we are coming up to the edge of the pocket, and at your fold, so you're going to go up a little further where your fold is, put your needle down and pivot, because you're going to do the angle of the flap as well. So let's do that. And I'm going to make sure my lace is tucked flat underneath. It's getting a little stuck on the feed dogs. There we go, just keep going. Pivot again with your needle down. And then just sew your angle. And then when you come to that fold where the flap is, pivot again, and then you'll come up to your original stitching. And back tack just a tiny bit. That's it. Whoops. Sorry to bump the camera there. All right, I'm going to come back at our other angle and we'll sort of recap. Okay, we're back, and the last thing to do before we can be completely done is to ink our edges. That's optional if you don't want to, but I do prefer the look. Plus, I've already inked my pocket heavily. I did ink it. So just, you know, just touch the edges with some ink, give it a little aged look. And then the flap as well. And then the outside of the envelope as well. I'm just doing this in the air. All right. And this edge, I might just hit that lace with a little bit of ink too, just to make it stand out a little bit more. All right. Then what I usually do, you know, this is totally optional. I just do the crack fold with ink too on the inside to give it another aged look. And the one on the outside as well, of course. And done. All right, let's take a look. So we've got our little botanical collage. I put a little lace on the flap. You know, you can go hog wild. You could decorate the back as well, but this is the basic envelope. I usually keep them shut with a clip. You could put a magnetic closure if you'd like. With these thin pages though, it will have a bump, you know, on each side. So I'm not sure if I prefer that look, but you could do that and it would be cool. A little Velcro dot would work too. But I think this kind of gives it a more aged look, just to leave it like this with a clip. And maybe not a super shiny clip. But that's it for the ideas. This one is collaged on the front of the envelope. And then I just glued a straight piece of cardstock here for a little flap tuck. So that's how that one was a little different than the other ones. So here is, I think I got these decorative clips. The music, wherever that went. Where did it go? I don't even know where it went. The little music notes. Huh, I don't see it. The little music notes, and I think the bird, I think they're both from Hobby Lobby. All right, so that's it for the basic collage method of decorating. This one, oh, there's my music note clip. So this one, you would do the body, as I said, so back to back, 2 strips of 6-inch wide paper, if you're using your 12-inch paper pad. 2 6-inch strips that are 6 inches wide by the length of the paper, so 6 by 12. And I just glued them together like this, and that becomes the body. And you would do the same thing. You would fold it over, determine your flap size after you determine your pocket size. So, and then another pattern, if you prefer to do it like this. And this happens to be just opposite, because I obviously used the other part of this over here. But anyway, so this is a pocket I've already cut out. And then you would do the pocket treatment the same way, cut the hole, sew the edge, do your collaging, and then fold this over, right? And then fold it back to where you want your flap to end, and just trim it up just the same way. And then you can make a scrapbook page, so you could have all these beautiful decorative papers to use too, which I think this one has turned out beautifully, and I love that. I was going to quickly, I hope this isn't getting too long, what I was hoping to do is just show you the basic way to put a collage napkin on there. And so making the envelope is going to be exactly the same, but this is just the napkin part. So let me get a scrap paper, because this is messy. Okay, I have some release paper from a different project. So I'm just going to put that on there so I can show you. All right, we've got gel matte medium, and this is the Golden brand. So let me grab a paintbrush. I prefer a bristle brush. You could definitely use foam or something like that. Okay. And this is thick. I think not all of them are this thick. This one's pretty thick. So it's gel matte medium. You could use Mod Podge, but it does wrinkle paper. So I would, I'm trying to see if I'm in frame. So I would be careful with that. But the gel matte medium, I think, is a much better way to do it. So my plan is, so this envelope is going to be red, this burnt red color, and my pocket is going to be the brown. And I thought I would introduce another color, and I thought it would go really well, is to do these turquoisey flowers on there. So that's my plan. All right, so what you'll do is you take your gel matte medium, and just in the area where your napkin is going to be, I'm getting it on a little thick, but I want to show you. And make sure to get the edges. And as I'm going here, I'm trying to scrape some off, as you can see. All right, and then you will lay down your napkin. And these are in a little cluster of 3, and I think it would just go really well in the corner here. So I laid it down, and I don't have any wrinkles or bubbles like I usually do. But with gel matte medium, you do have time to peel it up. So if you did make a mistake, just peel it up. Now, as it starts drying, you won't have that time. But when it's not dry yet, you'll have time to do this. Okay, so just pat it down. I think I'm just going to tear these edges. I don't want that, that little piece on there. All right, and then cut the excess off the edges. All right, and then you've got your napkin decoupaged on there. I should have torn this a little bit better. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Should have torn it a little bit, I think. But it's okay. I think it'll look just fine. Let me try to, oh, the more I go, the more it's gonna mess up. But I think it looks all right. So I'm just gonna leave that, let it dry completely. And then what I usually do, when I've got surfaces that, here, like this one, I inked the edges. I just took my ink blending tool and just like brushed it on the edge. I sort of liked that, and I might do that here as well, because it's a light colored napkin against a dark background. So that's just how to decoupage. I might see what I did. I wrecked my paper, but I'll just trim that off. And then I will have an envelope with this on it, and then the flap will be the burnt red coral type color. I hope I was in frame. All right, guys, that's it for our book page envelopes, book page / scrapbook papers / music envelopes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, that I was clear enough for you. Take care, everybody, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye.